Alright, so in the previous parts of this series, we took the old handle off the knife, put the new handle on, which is the green canvas micarta. We put the pins in and shaped it up. The only things I want to do left right now are make a simple sheath for it and just sharpen it up. So let's get to doing that. So I'm going to be using this pre-dyed just scrap leather. Not scrap leather, but it's from scrap bags that I've got from Hobby Lobby actually. It's decently thick, but it's not bad looking stuff, so I think it'll work well for this. The style sheath that I plan on doing here is it's pretty simple, just kind of a square, flat blade cover. Nothing too fancy or crazy. It's not gonna cover the handle at any point. Really just be a cover to protect the blade. So the pieces are all cut out. You can see we've got the rectangle part for the front, rectangle part for the back. At the kind of very bottom of the welt, I've cut it kind of U-shaped, just because I didn't want the seams for either of those side pieces kind of right at any of the corners. So I kind of made a U-shaped welt for the bottom, so where the kind of the tip of the knife's going to go. And I'm just using the basic contact cement, just putting it on there and gluing those pieces in. And that open channel should accept the knife no issues. I didn't really make it the exact same shape of the knife. So this way, this is intentional, so that way I can kind of put it in either way, you know, the sharp edge facing either the left or the right side, and it should fit no matter how you're working it. And because of how this sheath's going to be used, it's really just a blade cover. It's not going to be, carried in any kind of way. I don't think that should be a problem. And just as before, as that contact cement kind of sets up and gets just barely tacky, it's not, like I said, like post-it note stickiness. Usually it works well for me. You're good to start putting it together. So you can see that bottom section of that welt that I was just talking about fits in there like that, and then the two straight pieces will go on the top, top and the bottom, or left and the right, however you want to look at it. Yeah. I know I've mentioned it before, but you've got a little bit of play if you don't press down on the leather yet when you first kind of seat it. So just lay it down really gently, kind of adjust it into place, and then put the pressure on. And then once you put that pressure on those two pieces, is really when it starts bonding. But because once you start pushing, you're really not going to get them apart too easy at all. All right, now we got to glue up the other side. So again, that glue's set up, and now we're going to line it up and put some pressure on it, and it'll stick. Kind of careful trying to line it up right, trying to make sure you got kind of even overlap on both sides. It can get a little tricky, but like I said, you got a little bit of wiggle room when you first kind of just barely make contact, and then once you feel like it's lined up good, then put the pressure on it. Alright, so we are back from the belt sander. It did an okay job at evening them up. I think we'll be able to clean it up with our other tools still. So, I was too lazy to swap out the belt. Wasn't exactly sharp. It was way too high of a grit, or low of a grit. It'll be fine. I'm just going to start with chamfering these edges though. That came out good. This is like the ideal scenario for this not great edge beveler. It's straight, it's all supported, not doing any curves. It's fairly even. So we got our gum tragacanth. Promise that's what it is. I don't know if the pronunciation's right, but. And now we buff. Burnish. Whatever you want to call it. I'll tell you what. I just grabbed this little cutoff from the knife, this little piece of micarta. I just figured I'd try burnishing with this. I really like how that's coming out. I might make myself a full-size slicker or something like that out of micarta, because that's coming up just glassy smooth. Really nice. Way better than the finish than I was getting with the wood. And I know Big Life, Ryan, right? Linehead Restorations. Sorry, dude. I'm gonna keep. When I first started, getting to know him, his channel is called Big Life, so that's what I keep. He's like stuck in my head as. But Ryan, he uses a little patch of canvas, kind of like my little goodie bag here, and he swears by that. And this is canvas micarta, so I was wondering if it would have a similar useful texture, and I think it might, because that's coming up really glassy. And I didn't sand this nicely beforehand either. I think that belt on the belt sander was like 80 grit, so I'd imagine if I'd actually like sanded this properly, that would just be even better. So we'll see. I'll play around with this. Yeah, let's just compare. This side is with the micarta, and this side is with the wood. Alright, so let's take this side and go at it again, right? Alright, so now, if you can see, this is that same edge after using micarta. And I think some of this is just because I did not sand it nicely, right? So you're only going to get so... There's point of diminishing returns with, I think, burnishing with this, while you don't have a nicely sanded edge. But I'm happy with this. I'm very happy with how this is coming out. I mean, I'm very happy with that. See, that's an edge I haven't done yet. It's a nicely burnished edge. Ryan, I probably should have listened to you sooner. It's one of those, every time I'd watch him in the videos, be like, oh yeah, he's using the canvas. Every time we'd talk about it, be like, oh yeah, he used the canvas. Like, it can't be that different than the wood. I think it really is. It really does make a significant difference. Or maybe my technique's just getting better. I don't think that's the case though. I think using the different style slicker really might be burnisher, whatever you want to call it. Really might be what's making the significant difference. Alright, we're going to call that fully burnished. Now to lay out some stitching and I guess some rivet lines, holes, whatever you want to call them. I think we're just going to do 4, maybe 6.
Yeah, I think do 6. It just doesn't look spaced. There's really no need to put the ones in the middle, especially with how little or how light duty the sheath's going to be. It just looks visually way better with 6 of these guys on there. Well, we got all the holes drilled. Now time for our stitching. Stitching spacing. Like I said, I've had good luck with going whatever this wheel size is, and just going every other mark. So, I'm not going to mess with a good thing. Alright, so I'll just carefully go through and remark it with an awl. Or a pokey thing. I don't know if this is technically an awl, I think it's a nice pick, but it's an awl today. I think you can never have enough pokey things in the shop. Alright, so we've got all of our holes laid out. I have not drilled them yet. Only drilled the rivet holes. So now I'm just going to drill these guys. Well, we got all the holes drilled. It's not the prettiest on the back, but it's also not the worst. They're fairly straight. Fairly. So we'll try running this stitching groover down. So we're going to play a little connect the dots here. It's working pretty good. Until I went off the line there. They mostly stayed in a straight line. Mostly. And when I'm running the stitching groover this time, I'm not using that guide as much. It's kind of loosely there, but I'm more just literally trying to connect the dots here. I think that's about as good as we're going to get. So, I think that trick worked. Stitching. And then I'm going to go inside, sit there in the recliner, watch some of your guys' YouTube videos, and do some stitching while I'm nice and warm. Because even with the heater running, it's still cold out here. So, I think in the past I've done like 6 times the length of the project. I can never remember. And I always overshoot, and I'm like, oh, this should be the correct conversion factor. Then I always use too much again, because I can never remember it. Alright, this isn't super thick, so we'll call that's one length of the project. That's 2. That's 6. I know that's probably too much, but I'm always paranoid about running out like partway through stitching, and thread is cheap, so I don't mind wasting a little to make sure I don't run out at an inopportune moment. So, and then if you're not familiar with saddle stitching, which is the kind of stitching that we're going to do on this, there's other people that do way better videos on this for sure, so go check them out. But you're basically taking 2 needles, threading them on each end of that line, And as you pass this one through, you pass this one through the other way, pull it tight, and then just go back through the next hole. And it just weaves in and out like that through each one of those until you make your whole way around. And then when I terminate it, I just go back down until I get to like an even hole. Sometimes I'll go back right down to like a new rivet, one of the old rivet holes. Sometimes I'll go back down 3 or 4, and then I'll just cut them flush, but I'll usually do it on like the back side. So I'll leave the one hanging this way, then I'll feed the other one back through, and then trim them off both flush, and then kind of do that. If you go back down to one of your copper rivet holes, you can kind of hide those terminations underneath the copper rivet, which is kind of nice, but not necessary, but whatever floats your boat. So time to get stitching. All right, so I took this inside a few days ago now at this point, and sewed up that and stitched that sheath up, right? So still happy with the burnishing on that. Really like that. I did the saddle stitching. Started here, worked my way. I started here, worked my way all the way around. Went back up to that hole and then back down to this one. So if you can see here, that one stretch is double stitched. The rest is single stitched. I think it looks good. Give it a little test with the knife. Probably should have done that before I even stitched it, but nice, yeah. And like I said, it was never made to like hold this super tightly. Didn't design it for that. This is just to keep the edge covered when it's sitting in the kitchen, sitting in a bag, box, out by the grill. Just to keep it a little safer from, bumping yourself against it. So, I still need to trim my excess stitches. So if you remember, I think I did. Well, I have to. You probably just saw this, but I did like 6 times the length. I think. I don't know, it was like almost a week ago when I did this. It was like 6 times the length. That turned to be about perfect for what for this thickness. If you're sewing through thicker leather, add a couple more lengths on because it's gonna get eaten up with that length. So yeah. Get on with it. You'll have to excuse the heaters running in the background. It is very cold. It's like 20 degrees out right now in the shop. I just came out and turned the heater on. It is not much warmer at the moment, so you'll have to deal with the fans running. All right, so that looks good there. And I'm just widening these up a little bit to hopefully fit these through. And I'm going to follow Kurt's advice. I have a little bit of paper here, so I can use that to help keep me from marring up my or dirtying up my sheath. Alright, so our burrs are set. Happy with how they came out. Again, this should not have changed anything, but still fits. Now just to trim them and peen them. The last thing I do now is just sharpen it and then oil the sheath. Alright, so my belt progression, which is probably not the right progression, but it's the belts I have, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 180. Then, what else do I got? I thought I had a 200. That's 400, 600, then 800. I'm pretty sure I got a 220. Let me go look here. No, no 220, but I got a 320. That's going to work in place. Alright, it's probably going to be really hard to see, but the edge, the edge itself has a very nice polish on it. It's only up to 800 grit, but it's like a worn out 800 grit, so that's actually probably higher than what than just standard 800, but got a nice little burr there. So I think we're ready to strop it. Alright, like I said, we're just gonna load the strap up with some compound. Probably still fine from before, but whatever. Yeah, I know it's gross, but it works. Okay, you'll probably do a little more work on that edge, but I'm happy with it. This isn't like a super high-end chef knife or anything like that to begin with. It's just a neat old butcher knife. So I think that is a perfectly acceptable edge for how it's going to be used and likely abused a bit. I think the only thing now is just give the sheath a quick oil up. Alright, again, it is very cold in the shop. So I tried warming this up by the heater a little bit. I don't know if it'll actually... Nope, it's still like jello. We'll get some of it out. Alright, that worked nicely. It soaked in pretty good. The leather kind of has a cool look to it. I definitely don't like it as much as the English bridle, but this is, for what it is, it's perfectly, you know, the Wicked and Craig that I've got, perfectly acceptable for this use, though. Yeah, I like the brown leather and white stitching combo or cream stitching combo. It's, you know, I do it on pretty much everything. It's a favorite. So you can see a couple of those little gaps where I did the different parts of the welts. I think that'll be perfectly fine. I like how the edges slicked up with the burnishing. It's good. Yeah, I think it. I'm happy with how it came out, especially for what it is. You know, it's not like some super expensive Japanese, you know, kitchen knife or sushi knife or something like that, or anything high end. Just an old Cutco. The sheath's a lot warmer than the edge there. Did I cut myself or just the glove? That's what I get for not being careful. Yeah, we cut skin, but we're not drawing any blood. You can see that. Yep. That's funny. The only bad cut that I've ever gotten on an axe, or from an axe, has been the same way too. I was trying to wipe the edge off because I was cleaning something, and I ran my hand along it. You know, I was brushing it off like that. I went to go brush it like that, and I didn't have it in quite the right direction, and I slid my like the fatty part of my thumb, you know, like this part right here, across the edge, and put a nice gouge in it. Luckily, it healed fine, you know, but gotta be careful playing with sharp stuff. Alright, I'm happy with it. On to other things now. Like maybe actually finishing the giveaway build. Alright, so we're all said and done. I did hit the handle with a little bit of beeswax and just kind of heated it up and kind of buffed it out. I like how it darkened it up. It looked fine before. It just looked a little dry. I think it looks really good now. You have to excuse the smudges on the blade, but yeah, love that green canvas micarta. There isn't a ton of like curves to the handle, so you don't get a lot of that like topographical pattern almost that you do with some other handle shapes, but it's super comfortable. And honestly, the beeswax gives it just a tiny little bit of grip too, which I like. So it's very sharp. It should do well for what I'm looking to use it for. So you've got the gradual taper from the, front to the back here. Gradual taper here, nicely rounded. Kind of that egg shape that I was going for. Almost like an axe handle cross section. It just feels good. I like it. I think the sheath came out good. Like I said, it was never designed to like be carried like a belt knife. This is for putting in a, kitchen set or something like that, or just resting on the bench, sitting in the drawer, that kind of thing. So I think it'll do exactly that. I designed it, the knife fits in either way, so you don't really have to pay attention to which way you're sliding it in. Fits both. That just kind of protects the edge while it's hanging out and not in use. I like it. Let me know what you guys think. Would you have done the sheath differently? Would you have done the handle differently? Would you kept the original handle material? I think this handle is definitely more comfortable than the original. The other one's kind of like square and blocky, but what are your 2 cents? Definitely got some other like old hickory knives and stuff like that I want to fix up at some point. But I think this was a good jump into it. And I like that it was stainless. I like stainless steel knives for kitchen use. They're just a little easier and a little more forgiving with sitting with some stuff on them, So stay tuned. Stay tuned for more stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you're up north, like me, try to stay warm out there because I know it's definitely cold. So take care, everyone. Thank you.